Okay, and we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day. Just depends on where you are and when you are listening to this broadcast. My name is Clara Lyons-DeVaughn. I am the broker owner of Lyonsview Realty. We provide residential, commercial for small businesses and nonprofits, and property management services. And I just want to thank you so much for tuning in today. We have a really phenomenal guest for you today. But if you haven't already, like, share this with someone else so they can get this information as well. Don't keep it all to yourself. We stream live here on Fridays at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But click the like and the share button to invite someone else to join us today. I have a very, very, very special guest. Um, and our guest graduated from the Rochester Institute of Technology with a Bachelor of Science degree in mechanical engineering before earning a Master of Business Administration with a concentration in finance. Whoa. And he also started his real estate as an undergrad with the purchase of his first home. And he did that using a conventional loan. When he graduated, he spent several years at a pharmaceutical company as an operations professional. During this time, he purchased a multifamily property using an FHA loan. And his most recent venture was the development of a new construction 14-unit building, which was during the COVID pandemic. So he leveraged his practical insight. He has a problem solving mindset and authentic leadership to tackle the inherent challenges that developers face in ground up construction. As the Chief Loan Strategist at BRRRR or BRRRR Cash, Mr. Dublin empowers the dreams of real estate investors by helping them secure the right financing for their deals on wealth building journey to financial freedom. And as you know, here at Financial Fridays, we want to provide you with resources, information, and tools to help you make the best financial decisions. And our guest today is going to give us another tool to help you on your investment journey. So I'd really like to welcome Mr. Owen Dublin. How you doing, Owen?
Thank you, Clara, for having me here on your show.
Awesome. Awesome. I am so glad that you were able to join us today. I had the opportunity to meet Owen. Oh my God, it's been not quite a year that we've been in, um, connection with one another. I'm excited because Owen is also in the Developers Academy with me for the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. So I'm really excited about that. And even above and beyond that, we work together with the Southern New Jersey chapter of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, and he has spoken on numerous occasions for our group. And I was so excited by the information that he presented. I wanted to share it with all of you. So, Owen, just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you got interested in real estate investing.
So I guess quick background. I've been investing in real estate for almost 20 years. Out of college, as you mentioned, I worked in corporate America, and that was good. I think initially when I first started, but I got laid off from corporate America, and I returned. But doing get laid off is you know what? I can't put all my eggs in one basket. And I think also too, there were some relatives like my parents and a few other relatives that had a few investment properties. So I didn't know it too well, but it was around me enough to say, oh, that's there, right? And then I think so when I got laid off, I say, no, I need to create an additional plan in place just in case. And so from there, I say, I need to look into this even more and start taking action. And what I tell people is that you want to start early as possible in taking action to acquire real estate because you don't know what it can do for you if you don't start taking action. So it could be as simple as buying your first home. That can also help you later on in the future.
That is so true. Most people don't realize that real estate is the number one way to build wealth for most people in the United States and also in the world, actually. And so 89% of wealth comes from real estate investing. So buying that first home, as you stated, is a great, great, great first step. And there's also, for those people who want to take an additional step, it'll help you when you get ready to do investment in properties other than your primary residence. And that's kind of the one of the things that we're going to be talking about today. But before we jump into that, I want you to share about your transition, because you went from, financing, and then you went into actual investment. So how did you first start, BRRRR investments? Like, how did you jump into that world?
So I guess starting for real estate investing itself. So after I acquired my first home, I said, I saw the benefits of it from like a tax professional perspective. I realized that my tax return was better after I got my first home. And then I looked at I had a single family home, and my second home was that triplex. And I did simple math, right? I was like, well, if I live in one unit and if I have tenants, that will reduce my cost of living. So I'll tell you all the time, like, don't overcomplicate it, right? And so when I did that, I was like, I started to realize the benefit where my cost of living was significantly reduced. I said, well, if I buy another one, can it go down some more? And so the thing about it is, you acquire one, you see the benefits, and that'll motivate you to buy another one. So, I call it the law of the first deal, right?
Yeah.
Once you see the benefits of doing that first investments, you don't have to motivate yourself anymore because you see it. And that's what helped me to buy another property after that, was that I saw the benefit the first time. And then as you decide to do multiple rentals, over time, it'll snowball the different rental payments. So I do want to say, don't expect to retire after the first investment property purchase. But if you keep at it, if you do one every 2 years, over time, it will snowball as far as the rental income, but also too, the equity as well can snowball as well as the property value goes up.
Indeed, indeed. I share with people all the time that property is the best bank.
Yes. and the good thing, I'm glad you mentioned that, it's a bank that you control, right? And so
Indeed.
I'm not against the stock market, but you are investing in something that you don't fully control. But when it comes to real estate, as your bank, you control when to refinance and other things as well with that business that you control with real
Yeah,
estate.
the leveraging. I was talking to a friend of mine in California yesterday, and he was looking for ways. He was asking me about HELOCs, right? And he was looking for ways to pay for his to pave a driveway, and he lives out like on a horse ranch, right? So
Right.
his driveway is quite significant, and the cost of doing that was, a lot. And so we just talked a little bit about how he could leverage his equity, of which he has quite a bit, to do the things that he wanted to do, and what was the, different strategies that he could do to make it work in the best financial way for him. So your house is that, your property can be leveraged over and over and over again. It's one of the best bank leverage positions that I've ever experienced. So and our paths are actually kind of similar, because I did my first property, and then the next property was a triplex. It was three doors. Yeah, I didn't live in it though. I think
Okay.
that probably was a mistake, because I could have written it off. I would have had a better tax benefit if I had lived in one of the units. Um, but I actually did a total rehab, where I took one and made it from one into two units, and then it had a cottage in the back. So
Oh,
it
wow.
was,
Okay.
yeah, it was a great investment. But for those people who don't know, what does BRRRR
Okay. Yes. So
stand
it does not mean cold cash. I'm going to say that.
for?
And
Cold cash. I like that though.
so BRRRR is a very popular real estate investing term. So it means buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. So because of that, being in the real estate investing world, for SEO purposes, we picked a name where investors will search or know. So I guess also too, I created BRRRR Cash. I used to mentor investors as well, and the common thing was, if you mentor investor, they always needed financing. So I used to refer them out to other individuals, and sometimes it was great, situations. Sometimes it wasn't. And then, sometimes they say, listen to the common question that keeps coming up, and I was like, you know what? I should consider creating my own company to help investors because I understand the products. I use it for myself. I also used to mentor investors as well. So it was the right fit for me to go into that space of creating BRRRR Cash.
Nice, nice. I love it. I love it. It's like find a niche and fill it, and it's in alignment with what you're doing with your investment and mentoring. So I didn't know you were a mentor for investors. So besides that number one question, how to get money, what would you say is the next question that a lot of investors um, are are challenged that a lot of investors face?
Oh, so a common question is this a good investment?
Yes.
And I typically, when I usually mentor investors, I always say, well, every investor needs to determine what's their investment criteria because what
Yes.
works for me or for you may not work for the other investor.
That's so
So it needs to
true.
take some time to say, okay, what do I want as an investor? And then once you do that, you run the numbers to see does that scenario meet what I want, or do I have to adjust my scenario, or do I need to adjust my location? So I
Mm,
would say that's the biggest thing is like understand what do you want to achieve as an investor, and then also too there are different risks, of course, depending on what type of investing you want to do. So I always say also, how much, try to get a gauge of your risk tolerance and your time that you have available to jump to this endeavor of investing in real estate.
indeed, indeed. That's a really really great answer, and it applies not only to investment, but it also applies in buying a single family house. People are like, I want a good deal. I'm like,
Yeah.
that is so relative. So what neighborhood, what area, what amenities. I watched that show, International, people who are looking for properties internationally. So
Yeah.
coming from the United States, they have a certain perspective. One is space. We have a lot of space in our properties. And when you go abroad, houses are smaller, they have smaller living spaces because they don't live in the house, they live outside, right? The house is a place where you enjoy your family, you may eat and you sleep, but life is lived outside of the house, so they don't put a lot of space into the houses there. Whereas here, you
There's
know,
big
we
homes. Yeah.
attach so much to the size of the house. It's a status thing. The bigger your house is, the more house you can. It's just we in America, we're just so different than people abroad. So, when people are looking at what they want, what works for them, it's different for everyone. And as you said, for I think the number one thing is for people to establish what works for them and what they're looking for in terms of their return on investment and what they want that property to do for them currently and in the long run. So yeah, I appreciate that. So who is your ideal client for BRRRR Cash? I like that name, BRRRR Cash.
So I would say it's someone who actually wants to, achieve generational wealth, financial freedom, right? That they've determined that yes, I want to start investing in real estate. And I say that to say is that if you're still on the fence for investing in real estate, you might not be the ideal client because you still haven't. I'm not going to try to motivate you to do something that you don't want to do. So my client is a person who's ready to take action, and then from there we'll get them on their path to help them with real estate investing. And I can tell you too, a benefit of being a client, especially a past client, is that because I used to mentor investors, you get unofficial mentorship along your journey as you acquire real estate assets.
Indeed, indeed. I think that is really, really great. And then the other thing, so let's do like the baby steps. So a person who is purchasing their first home that they're going to live in, um, a lot of times they consider themselves a home buyer, home owner. They may consider it an investment in their home. Um, that's kind of like one step of investment. But BRRRR Cash, you guys don't loan to individuals who are buying homes to live in. Is that accurate or not accurate?
That is accurate. We loan homes for real estate investors, so you cannot put your foot in the door. The entire property has to be utilized for investment purposes. But I would
Gotcha.
say if you are buying your first home and you know you want to invest in real estate, I do say to first-time home buyers, so look at, owner-occupied multifamily properties. And then also too, there's when I purchased my first home, there was not a lot of down payment assistance out there that like there is right now. So if you're a first-time home buyer, want to become an investor, owner-occupied multifamily, and then also talk to your real estate professional like Clara and say, which lender partner has down payment assistance, because half the time they may match up well with a duplex, or depending on what state it might be, a 4-unit property. So that's a great way to start your investing journey, is by doing an owner-occupied multifamily property and layer it with down payment assistance plus seller assist. When I used to do residential loans for a little while as well. You can bundle it together and literally buy a duplex after the down payment assistance and seller assist for like $1,000 out of pocket. And then on top of that, because it's an owner occupied tenant unit, you get at settlement the security deposit and the prorated rent, and you end up buying the property for $0.
Indeed.
So
Great.
there's a ways to stack it up very nicely if that's something you want to do as a first-time home buyer.
Yeah. And would you recommend from a financial perspective, if you've never bought anything before, to do the multifamily first and go to single, or do the single family and go to multifamily? Like,
So if you want to be an investor, right? So this is where you can the situations that you're currently renting, and you say, I want to invest in real estate. I'm currently renting. I'm going to say to you, majority of the time, multifamily, owner occupied. And then there are situations where people may have a family and they want to have their space, but if you're open to it, start early, multifamily, and then what you can do after every year or two, do another multifamily owner occupied, or at some point in time, do your single family. It's easy. It's better to start with the multifamily because that rental income part of that counts towards your income.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, and that's the part that people I think don't get, is it's almost like someone else is helping you qualify.
Yes.
Yeah, because you get to count that other income from the second unit. Yeah.
And I want to add, about the qualified and second unit. If it's a couple,
Hmm.
right? You can, at the end of the day, a couple, you have 2 credit files. And so instead of, most people will apply for a loan together and then the debt goes with both credit files. But if the one person's income is strong enough, you can just have that one person apply for the loan, and that way it keeps the other person's credit file free and clear for investment property purchases. So that's another strategy that I used to, tell clients that just remember that your credit files are still separate, even though if you're married, they're still separate credit files. And doing that once change can help you grow faster to an investor.
I love it. I love it. This is really great. What would you say is like the difference between an investor and a developer?
I guess I would say everyone's definition is different. But for me, I see real estate and an investor. There's so many different ways to invest in real estate. Say it like that first, right? So I guess I would say, to me, a developer in my mind is more like the new construction ground up. Um, but because you're both visionaries, right? There's different level of complexities. If it's existing single family home that needs to be rehabbed, for example, you're going to still have the vision of doing renovations and making that unit nice. Also, too, if the property is functional, you have the vision of finding the right tenant and optimizing property management and creating cash flow. But then, new construction, it's the built environment. It's not there yet. So you can't see the building. You might see some drawings later on from the architect, but it's a lot more visionary insight, zoning insight, I believe, with being a developer versus a traditional investor that might buy an existing building. So I think there's a little more complexity.
Gotcha.
But the theories are still the same, as far as that you still have to run your numbers, right? So when I meet people who own properties now, who want to get to new construction development, I always say, okay, let's go back to the fundamental theories of investing, right? All we're doing is adding more numbers, or maybe adding more zeros, or a little more
Zero.
formulas. But the theory is the same, right? We run the numbers. Does it meet the requirement that we need? And then make the decision. But also, too, for new construction versus existing, it's going to take longer, right? So you do want to get more data before you make a decision to make sure that your estimates are as best as possible. Because by the time you're done, your comps are not the comps anymore. The rent's not the rent anymore. So it is a lot more challenging for that versus if you're doing a existing rehab, you can be kind of spot on where the rents will be at by the time you're done in 2 or 3 months versus a year and a half of new construction.
Gotcha, gotcha. And you mentioned a while ago that there's different types of investments. Share a little bit more about that. Like, what do you see as the different types of investment opportunities?
So it can be there's short-term rental, from different sites from Airbnb, VRBO. There's also buy and hold where it's a already functional property and your design is to just purchase it and put a renter in there or keep the existing renter. There's the BRRRR strategy, buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. And that entails doing a rehab, putting the tenant inside, refinancing it, keeping it as a cash flow property. There's fix and flip, which is then you're going to rehab the property and then sell it. Then there's new construction, there's ground up construction. So there are different, like I said, there's shopping centers, right? So you can play in the commercial space where you see people you drive by a shopping center or even like a grocery store anchored shopping center, right? That's an investment. We're going to a grocery store, but the people who own that, it's a commercial shopping center for grocery store and like 5 other stores. That's also investment. So there are so many different ways to invest in real estate. So we have to figure out, what works for you and what's your strategy that matches what you want to do.
Gotcha, gotcha. And what kind of products does BRRRR Cash offer for investor clients?
So we have a multitude from multifamily, single family, and I would say we also have mixed use asset types, so multiple asset types, like I said, shopping centers, offices. And then it comes down to, what are you trying to do with that asset? Are you trying to do a rehab, or is it already functional? Or are you trying to refinance some of your current assets? Mm-hmm. So, there's as long as it's titled to invest in, from purchase to refinance, multiple asset types. We cover majority of states across the U.S. We have different lending partners because we're a commercial mortgage broker. So because that we have flexibility as far as options that are available to us.
Gotcha, gotcha. And then the other part of that is like if a person, wants to get investor financing, how do they get ready? What are the requirements for the person who's looking to do investor financing? What do you need
yes.
from them? Mm-hmm.
So typically, I was going to say the investor knows what type of investment they want to do, right? They want to have an initial conversation. I'm going to ask them what's their plan and strategy, what type of investment do they want to do. And so we're going to use the scenario where they're trying to do like a fix and flip. It's a very popular strategy that some investors use. And so typically I'll ask the investor, what's the property address? What's the asset type? Is it single family, multifamily? And then what are the numbers, right? What is your purchase price? What's the rehab amount that you need? And what's the half repair value? So, knowing your numbers as an investor is important because those numbers will let me create your scenario for that particular property.
Wait. Guys, know your numbers. We talk about that all the time. You got to know your numbers. Yeah.
And then if you don't know your numbers, so let's just go back to say, purchase price, rehab, half repair value, right? If you don't know the half repair value, you're going to work with your real estate professional like Clara and say, can you please provide the comps for that location, right? And when you have those comps that she sends you, you're going to say, okay, the vision of my property is conditioned to be the same or better than the comps that she sent me. And that gives you a great, estimate of your half repair value. For your rehab cost, I would say, have your resources ready, like your contractors, get a few quotes, at least 3 if you can, to get a good gauge of what the rehab cost will be for that particular property. And then from there, you have your purchase price, right? So with your purchase price and your rehab, and you have the alley per value, you determine how much you want your spread to be when you add up your purchase and rehab and then compare it to your alley per value.
Yeah. And that's basically the profit. So the after repair value is probably the most well, one of the important numbers that you need to know. And you can get that from a real estate professional, or you can have an appraisal done on the property if you want to spend the money for it. But it is important. I find a lot of times, sometimes investors spend too much initially on their purchase price of the property, so it doesn't give them a lot of room for repairs, and or it cuts into their profit, or they end up breaking even because they didn't look at how much it was really going to cost to do that property. And now with all these tariffs going on, the cost of construction is going up a little bit, but it's important for people. I like your idea of getting a couple of estimates on getting people to bid the job in advance. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because if you don't, you're taking a guess, right? And those 3 numbers, I'll tell you everyone, right? Those 3 numbers, one is not more important than the other. They're
They're all important.
those 3 numbers. When you were running the numbers, going back to running the numbers, right?
Yeah.
You have, you can't not have the right rehab amount and then have your purchase and the active pair value, right? They're all equally important.
Yeah. That's very, very true. Um, I'm trying to think, the very first, well, no, it wasn't my first purchase, but there was a property, like I didn't do any of that, right? I just had this vision of what I wanted the property to look like, and God was on my side.
And you had no numbers. You went in blind. Is that
I
you were
went
blind?
I went in totally blind. I saw it. It looked like a great property, um, and I just had a vision of what I wanted it to look like. And I'm a buy and hold person, so the holding helped.
Okay.
Over time, the appreciation value of the property was amazing. So it all worked out. But in hindsight, I appreciate you saying it up front that the purchase price, the repair price, and the after repair value. Those are the three things that people really need to pay attention to
Yes.
when going into the investing arena, and especially if you're going to be serious about it, right? If you're really trying to do this thing. The other thing you said that was interesting is to get something every 2 years. Talk a little bit more about that. Why 2 years?
Well, it could be every year, but I just said every 2 years because if you are just busy with life in general, if you just set a goal of every 2 years versus every year might be too much pressure on you potentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just said that to say, just because you might do that one property, get it stabilized, breathe a little bit, and then you would jump it again. So I just said every 2 years, and that way you just don't stop doing it. That's yeah. If it's for you, you might do every year,
Yeah,
as far as like the time and the capital needed. But what I don't want people to do is to not take the action. So like, if you look at my one of my quote is fear plus action equals growth.
Mm-hmm.
And so that action piece is, new estate investing, if it's new for you, expect the fear because it's new, it's something new. And also too, real estate investing is that's not a low cost endeavor, right?
Yeah.
so,
Yeah,
so
we didn't get into that part yet. So we talked about what I need to do, but yeah, how much money do I need?
so it's not like it's gonna be a $5 or a few dollars. So that's a part of the fear factor of investing, right? But if you take the action, you get to the growth side. But yes, and that's where those 3 numbers are important because it's not a low cost endeavor, right? You don't want to be off at one of those numbers or just try to wing it. It will cost you a lot in the long run.
Indeed.
And we call it the law of the first deal. If your first investment deal goes bad, you might be scarred for a long time and never invest again.
Mhm.
But if it goes right, that first investment property,
Like,
you are more likely to continue investing.
indeed, indeed. So how much money, I have my numbers, I know how much it's going to cost me to purchase the property, to acquire it, how much it's going to cost me for the rehabilitation, if any, and what the after repair value is. So to get the financing, what else do I need?
Also, we also need, I will say, some okay credit score. We do have flexible options. And then from there, once you provide that information, I'll get you customized terms for that scenario.
Mhm.
So it's not a set dollar amount. If it's a rehab, the best case scenario for stuff that I have available too might be 10% down on the purchase side, and then we'll do 100% on the rehab side, and that'll be reimbursed as you complete the work. For properties that are turnkey, say a DSC or rental loan, generally speaking, it might be 20% down for a single family home and then 25% down for multifamily, and then it might be 30% down for different commercial asset types.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. And depending on the purchase price, that could be a nice little chunk of change. So you do have to have uh, some some skin in the game if you're going to go the uh, investment financing route. Yeah.
Or I always say,
Mhm.
if you have a good property as far as numbers are concerned, and you have low funds or low liquidity, reach out to your network. Right, you'll be surprised who you might know who wants to invest in real estate. So, and that might help you solve that problem as far as the money needed to complete that project. So I
Gotcha.
would say, you as the investor, for that to happen, for you to reach out to say I need help, you
Hmm.
have to become vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
And to say to someone or to your network of friends, I don't have enough money for
Hmm.
this endeavor, and that's you become vulnerable, and then you say, are you interested? And so a
Right.
lot of people will not do that first step of becoming vulnerable to get help that they need to get the project off the ground.
Hmm. That's a really, really good point because a lot of times, people may be willing to have some level of partnership with you in the deal um, to get it done. So, and then at the end, everybody wins.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. When it goes well, yeah, everybody wins.
Well, I'm glad you put that when it goes well. Yeah, because I like to go to reverse too, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, those you have to, you know, inquire. Don't go in blind. If you're going to be partnering with someone, you also need to know the acquisition, what it's going to cost to do it, how long it's going to take, how long your money is going to be tied up. Um, yeah, how long your money is going to be tied up, and then, what's the outcome on the other side, how much interest you're charging on your money. So different things that you want to consider up front before you do that. And if it's money that you need for something else, you may not want to do that deal at that time because if it's tied up for 3 to 6 months, while construction is happening, or maybe that 6 months might turn into 8 months,
Yeah.
depending on how long the permitting process takes, so, and those things do happen. So you want to inquire so that you're comfortable with whatever partnership that you put together. But I really agree with you. Sometimes you do have to be vulnerable and reach out, and other investors may want to join in the project with you. Uh, yeah. So it could be a good match. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do want to add something. Real estate investment, it does involve risk, and not every project goes well. So I want to make sure I say that right. The goal is that every project goes well, but things do happen between project execution that may amplify your risk. So there is risk, and so to your point about the funds that you you put up for investing, make sure that you understand that it is risk. It is a risk.
Indeed. Indeed. Yeah. So it's a great journey. I like the fear growth. Is that what you said? Fear
Fear
growth?
plus action equals growth.
Fear
That's what
plus
it
action equals
equals
growth.
growth. It's a math equation, yeah.
Indeed. Fear plus action equals growth. I really, really I really like that because it's so true. You can't do anything without. I mean, there's a bit of fear, a bit of risk, but you have to take action. And if you take the action, you'll definitely see the growth, and you'll make mistakes. I mean, hopefully you'll learn from them as you're going through the process, and you can keep moving forward. But investing is a really great opportunity, and I think what you're doing on the financing side is phenomenal. So I
Thank
want to
you.
congratulate you for that, and I want to encourage people to reach out to you too. So if people want to uh, take advantage of the products that you have for investor clients, how would they reach you?
Yeah, so we're on all the social platforms from Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, um, Instagram. So BRRRR Cash is a company name, and then on there is linked to our calendar. Also, if you go to our website, brrrcash.com, you scroll to the bottom, you can schedule a call. The best way to get in touch is to schedule a call either through one of the social media platforms or through our website. Schedule calls the best way because you have full access to my calendar, and then my phone will tell me when to call you. So that's the best way to reach me. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. I love it. I love it. Anything else that you want to share with our listeners today?
Yeah, I would say, you don't want to live life with regrets that you didn't better yourself. So if this is something that you truly have thought about, you know, one, take action to go to different events or presentations that people may have, show up for yourself.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing you can do for yourself. And then from there, network the right people and start to take action.
I love it. I love it. Networking, especially because people will share their experiences and their stories with you. So you don't have to make the mistakes that they made. And you can learn from what they've already learned. Um, yeah, but if you listen, yeah, so sometimes people get a lot of information and they don't always apply it. But I
So
think
yeah, I want to
it's,
touch on that real quickly.
yes,
There's I say, block out the noise, right? There's a
yeah,
lot of information out there. There's a
yeah,
lot of different thoughts and theories. As an investor, focus on what you want to do as an investor. And when I say block out the noise, also be cautious to who you ask questions to. If
mm,
someone's not an investor, for example, you may have a relative who you want to talk about real estate investing, but if they're not an investor, should you be asking them that question at all? So make sure you are surrounding yourself with the people who are doing what you want to do. So I'm not saying don't talk to your relatives, but don't talk about investing if they're not an investor themselves, because the guidance they give you might not help you in your journey.
indeed, indeed. That goes for even with single family homes as well. I had so many clients who have regrets because they passed up a really great property, and it was fear. You know, there might have been a little blemish somewhere on the property, and they just lost their mind about the big picture, looking at the blemish, and now they've lost years of equity that they could have had if they had gone ahead and closed on the property. So, um,
Yeah. I do
yeah,
want to add you, if they don't own a home, going back to asking that question, right?
yeah,
If your relative is a renter for their entire life, they may not be the right person to ask about, I want to buy a home one day. Not that they won't be able to give you the right advice as far as the pros and cons of buying a home because they've never done it themselves. So if you want to buy a home, talk to relatives that you know who own a home because they can probably give you the right guidance that you might need. If you have where you have majority of people in your family are not homeowners, don't ask them. Go to a home buyer workshop. A lot of us professionals have a lot of free home buyer workshops. Go there and talk to us a professional or the lenders, or you have to have the right conversations when you're about to do something new.
that is so true. That is so true. And today, we're talking about investors, people who are looking to invest in property that they're not going to live in. So you want to talk to investors. You want to talk to people who've done it. There are lots of investment groups, online in your city. Just about every city has a group that meets, and you can go and get information. And sometimes they have deals that they're working on that they will share properties and or specific deals. So it's a great opportunity to network with other people who are doing what you want to do, and we welcome you to join into this arena if that's what you are interested in. We're here to help you move closer to that particular dream. And if you're already in the game, I highly recommend Mr. Dublin and his company for financing of your deal. They're very flexible and can work with you to make it work. So
Thank you.
definitely reach out to him. And anything else before we wrap?
I think that's it. But that's it. Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, just take action. Take action. Contact me. Contact Clara. Just take action.
Indeed, indeed. So I want to thank those of you who tuned in with us today. I hope that you have received something of value here at Lyonsview Financial Fridays. We provide you with resources, information, and tips to help you make the best financial decisions. And um, we have what I call ESP, which is expertise, solutions, and patience before, during, and after the sale. The sale, we assist sellers, buyers, and investors build wealth because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. And real estate professionals build careers in real estate. And I really am always advocating for people to have a Lions View, what I call a Lions View lifestyle. And you say, well, what is a Lions View lifestyle? It's when you actualize your dreams into reality. So whether you want to be a homeowner, whether you want to be an investor, whether you just want to change the world, but actualize your dreams into reality. And it's that possibility of what's available when your life is in order, when your finances are in order, when your health is in order, and when your spiritual mindset is in order, you can conquer the world. So I want to encourage you to join us again next Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We stream live on Facebook and YouTube. And until then, keep living your very, very best life. Thanks,
Thank you.
Owen. Appreciate you.
Thank you.